Welcome to the Crime Redefined podcast, produced by Zero Cliff Media. Coming to you from the US Bank Tower, high above downtown Los Angeles. In our podcast, we drill deep into forensics and criminal investigation from the viewpoint of the defense, as well as explore the intersection of the media and the justice system.
Hey, everybody, and welcome to Crime Redefined. I'm Dion Mitchell here with my co-host, Mehul and Anjaria. If you're new to Crime Redefined and into binging podcasts, we have plenty of material for you.
We do, Dion. We're getting a little bit of a catalog.
Today, we are excited to bring back a guest whom we've had an awesome interview with about a year and a half ago.
Yeah, we're delighted to once again be speaking with UFC legend and action movie star Cung Lee. We wanted to get Kung's thoughts on the Cain Velasquez case. This is all over the media. And any way you look at this, Dion, it's just a tragic case.
Yeah, there is absolutely no winners, which is a huge understatement. Here are the basic facts as they stand today. On February 23rd, 2022, deputies responded to a child care facility in San Martin, California, regarding the allegation of a repeated sexual assault involving a child. The victim was 4 years old. Suspect Harry Goulart was accused of inappropriately touching the victim on multiple occasions. He was booked into jail with a $50,000 bond. 2 days later, however, he was released on the supervised own recognizance program, aka ankle bracelet.
Yeah, so once Goulart is out for 3 days, he's picked up by his mother and stepdad because they have to go get his electronic monitoring device. Well, as Goulart enters the truck, all of a sudden there's gunfire directed at him. So he gets in the truck. Another truck starts chasing them and is shooting at them. It turns out that the suspect's stepdad, who was driving, was hit in the arm and the torso. Well, the other vehicle that was shooting at them was eventually pulled over. Inside that vehicle was two-time UFC heavyweight champion Cain Velasquez, along with a .40 caliber semi-automatic handgun and expended casings.
Yeah, that's just crazy. Of course, the first we heard about this from the media was that Cain Velasquez was arrested for attempted murder, which, kind of left the public scratching their heads.
Yeah, we were thinking, how could that be?
Yeah, it just didn't sound right. Then it came out, of course, later on that it was the molestation, the young child was a close relative of Cain's.
Yeah,
and so the pieces are starting to come together a little bit.
Yeah, so if for those of you who maybe aren't familiar with Cain Velasquez and UFC, he really rocketed to stardom in 2010 at UFC 121. This is when he went up against the heavyweight champion, Brock Lesnar, who is this big hulk of a guy. He's got the buzz cut. He's got the sword tattoo, a very intimidating champion. And I remember getting this pay-per-view, Dion. At the time, I was watching a lot of UFC. And, man, Cain took out Brock Lesnar in less than a round and just pounded him down. It was kind of shocking.
Yeah, it really wasn't much of a contest at all.
No.
So needless to say, this is a very complicated case. And while the accused molester is out of jail, Cain Velasquez has twice been denied bail. The situation makes us all think about, what would we do if someone molested one of our loved ones, and then a few days later was out of the jail. This can definitely be taken as an insult to injury.
Yeah, I mean, Cain probably thought, well, the system will take care of it, but then here this guy's out in 2 days, and you never know how that could make you snap. So, Dion, we're very fortunate to get Cung Lee's take on this.
Absolutely.
Here's someone who's known Cain for a long time, and he's certainly an expert on extremely stressful situations and firearms.
Hopefully kind of give us the inside scoop a little bit.
That's right. So, you know what? Let's see what we can learn from Cung. Hey, Cung, we appreciate you rejoining us on Crime Redefined. How have you been?
I've been doing really good. Thanks for asking.
Yeah, good to talk to you again, but too bad it's under these circumstances with this whole mess with your friend Cain Velasquez.
I know it's just a very tough one to, what's going on. It's just crazy.
Hey, Cung, this is Dion. You mind telling us a little bit about your history with Cain? When did you first meet and how well you know him?
First time I met him, I was in AKA. I can't remember exactly what date it was, and he just came in, and they said that he was a college All-American, and he has like amazing cardio. So everyone welcomed him to the team, and then soon after that, I remember, I got to know him and trained with him. I sparred with him, and I was just like, man, his cardio is insane, and then he's always been the same guy from the point I met him, and even when he became UFC champion. I remember at UFC 148, I was fighting Patrick Cortez, and then after the fight, I got the win, but I thought I broke my foot, and then I was having a hard time just walking and putting any pressure on it. And we were at the front of the hotel in Kane, and like my group came out, and then like kind of like everyone just kind of took off, and I was like stuck there. And so Kane went with me to, even though it was at the like Mandalay, just to, the bus to drive us back, across to the MGM. I got over there. I'm like, oh man, I can't even, walk. And then so his wife was with him, and he just hop on my back, and then I hopped on his back, and he literally carried me from the front of the MGM all the way up to the elevator, got me.
Wow.
And then got me up to my room. And then like, that's when like all like our buddies and the team came. But like when he was done, because I was on his back, I can feel the sweat was coming off his back. And when he was done, he was like wiping off the sweat. And then I remember after that, we just hung out, waited for some like food to come, and then I got a good picture of me and him, and that's what I posted for like for everyone to support him.
It sounds like he's a really good dude. How long ago is that? Like, how far back does your history go with Cain?
Well,
a couple of years, 5 years.
Way before that, like I said, I don't remember, but that event happened at UFC 148. So maybe that was a long time ago. You guys, maybe you guys might have to do some
research.
And then, like I said, he's the same guy, and I didn't expect him to do that, and like I said, by the time he just got to like the elevators, I already felt the sweat coming out of his back. And then I was like, okay, thanks. He's all, I'll got you. We'll just get you up to your room. And he got me up to the room, and he's like, he hung out for a bit. You want to eat anything? And I was like, oh, I got a lot of food coming. Hang around and eat. And then, we have like one of his best friend was like a really close buddy of mine. His name is Brent Rolls. And then, so Brent, is helping them out a lot. And then Brent reached out to me and says, hey, this is the situation. And so I support him as much as I could on my social media.
Yeah, we've seen that. Definitely. Obviously Cain is a dangerous dude in the ring. I mean, that's his job. But Cung, when you've hung out with Cain, have you seen anything in his personality or behavior that would lead you to believe that he's, dangerous to society?
Not at all. He's a very quiet guy. He's very, he's a family man. Like, you literally he's got to be out working or being at the UFC. If the UFC invited him out to the fights, and then he'll sit there and watch it, but he's always, with his wife, and, he's a great dad. So he's not dangerous at all. He's only dangerous when you close that octagon.
Right. Yeah.
Or I remember like the first time I sparred with him, like he took me down, and then like I was so tired, like he helped me up just to take me down again. But like he didn't have any like ill intention. When he took me down, like I couldn't even defend the takedown anymore. He didn't like slam me down, he gently put me down. Like I've had some training in there where, right before I was fighting on Vanley, I had King Mo, I was sparring against King Mo. Next thing you know, I got, taken down on a double leg, but I felt something weird on my ribs. I was like, wow, that was a hard body slam. I'm going to try to, throw hard spinning back kicks at King Mo now, So, yeah. So.
Well, I assume a big dude like Cain having good cardio is a pretty rare commodity.
Yeah. I mean, You know, I mean, for me at the time, he just had the best cardio in the room with all the other top fighters in there, you know?
That's impressive.
Where's Cain at in his career before all this started? Like where was he at?
Cain had a lot of injuries, but then, he was, he was doing stuff for like the pro wrestling, and then it's been a while since me and Cain like just talked. And I think it's been so long, but like, it doesn't change the fact that I know him as this person. And we went to like the Russell Peters with Daniel Cormier and my buddy Mike Zuger. We all, we used to go out and then I remember at the Russell Peters event, Russell Peters is one of those guys that will freestyle, and he singled out Cain and made his gardeners, because there's a lot of Mexican gardeners, right?
Right.
And made fun of Cain. He says definitely the cage wouldn't be the cage is clean because in between rounds Cain's got he'll pick up the blower, and Cain was laughing. He didn't get mad at all, So I remember that was like the one time we all went out and just hung out, and then we had a blast, and I was in the same role as Cain. I looked over and Cain was just laughing, and like Russell did not let up. Russell stayed on Cain for a good 10 minutes,
Do you, Cung, do you have any plans to visit Cain in jail, or are you able to?
Well, Brent says that they only allow so many visits, so,
yeah.
And Brent told him that I just been, out there just helping and dropping, things on social media, because MMA Uncensored said they'll donate all the shirts and the proceeds to Cain. So, I repost that a lot and whatever, because, I think the lawyer that he hired is going to be very expensive.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that actually kind of is a good segue into my next question for you, Cung. It seems like the MMA community is really rallied behind Cain, and that basically he's a good role model. You kind of mentioned a couple of those things already. Can you talk about why his reputation is so good?
Because he's a really good dude. I mean, Cain is that guy. He's that guy that, if you're with him, and, he's also soft spoken. He's very smart too, and he cares about his teammates. He doesn't want to hurt anyone, especially in practice. He could have slammed me down, many times, because I was going for him. I was like, kicking hard, and because he's a big dude, and I was getting tired of getting taken down. So I was trying to keep him off with my kicks, and he just came in and picked me up in the air, gently put me down. I'm like, and he put out his hand, and I just grabbed his hand. He just yanked me up, and he's like he never took any sacrifice. You ready? I'm on, not really, but let's go.
Well, Cung, we know that you're a firearms expert, and so, in this sad episode here, we know that Cain was firing a .40 caliber pistol, and it was actually, properly registered to him and all of that. But as a firearms expert, can you kind of break down, how powerful a .40 caliber pistol is, and like kind of what kind of damage that could inflict?
Well, .40 caliber is a fast bullet. It's in between the 9mm and the 45. Any round, even a 22 hits you, it can kill you, right?
Sure.
So, 40 caliber, I prefer 9, but I mean, you don't want to get shot with anything, especially when it comes out of it has muzzle. Like I said, even a 22 can do damage.
Yeah, it's always like where the bullet then travels once it hits you. It's surprising that a shot that seems to be innocuous will travel and take out a major organ or something like that. You just never know.
Yeah, but me being a firearms trainer, I focus on just like this gun safety, muzzle, where the muzzle should be, and never fingers on the trigger unless you're about to squeeze the trigger and send a round down downrange, and other than that, make sure it's clear, how to clear it, the 3 checkpoints to make sure it's clear. And other than that, then, I just run people through drills and I explain to them, you're responsible for every single bullet that travels out of this gun. So if it hits, if it hits your target and it still keeps going and it hits someone, you're responsible for that bullet too, So, I mean, that's what I teach. And, I teach from basics to, advanced, where people will move and shoot and, use cover and stuff like that. But, I mean, it's just an awful situation. And there's really no guns, safety tips when, your kid got, something bad happened to your kid and it happened and another man did it and the law didn't do its job. And he's out right now with no bail while Cain is still behind bars.
Yeah, it sounds like, if we understand correctly, that Cain's attorney is Mark Garagos, and he seems to be considering, anyway, traumatic brain injury or CTE as a possible defense. Of course, the NFL has a big issue with this, but how prevalent is CTE in the MMA world?
Well, I've been hit a lot, and we take a lot of damage, but that's not my expertise, so I couldn't tell you much about that. So I think you got to get a doctor that knows a lot about that so they can break it down to you.
Yeah.
I think I'm functioning pretty good, but I've never taken that much damage until my last fight. Yeah, that was like the most damage I've ever taken in all my fights put together against Michael. Just when he got that shot in my eye, it was
right.
I felt like I was going to throw up and have diarrhea at the same time. So that was very painful. But we're warriors, and for me, I'm that guy that I'll just go out on my shield and then deal with the doctors later.
Well, whether what Cain did was morally justified, all things considered, that's one debate. But like you referred to, I think the key issue here is the disparity in treatment. So on one hand, you've got accused molester is free, and he obviously would be a danger to many people, many children. Cain is not free, and presumably he's only a danger to one person. I mean, Cung, what does this make you think of our criminal justice system?
Well, like I said, I'm no expert in the laws, but if someone hurt my kid and the law didn't do its job, I don't know what I would do, and I feel very bad for Cain because it happened to his kid, and it happened not just once; it happened multiple times.
Right.
So why is Cain behind bars? And and this molester is running around, and maybe he does have one of those things on his ankles, but still he's out, and I think our justice system needs a little bit of work and needs a lot of polishing. So, I think the world we live in right now is just really dark, and look at the times,
Yeah, and just to add to that, I know Mark Garagos, he wasn't proposing that Cain just be skipping around completely free. He was proposing $1 million bail. And one of the scenarios was that Cain would actually be in a locked facility. So those seemed like very fair propositions.
Here's the thing, I'm not his defense attorney or anything, but I'm not sure if you guys ever had. Do you have kids? Do you have a son or a daughter?
We don't, actually.
You don't? A nephew? Do you spend any time like with a family member with the kid? And you see, it's really hard to explain to you, but like.
Right.
No, if what you're asking, Cung, is that, can we relate to this? Absolutely. All my friends have kids. I'm uncle to a lot of them. And this is one of the reasons that we wanted to bring you on, is because this is hard, and that you don't know what it's like until you're in that position, and how you're going to react. I mean, I could easily see myself, if it was my son or kid, or even my sister or something like that, it was her child. I mean, I don't know I think you'd be lying if you said you couldn't, say, I thought of doing the exact same thing.
Sure.
Here's how I kind of I'll try to paint a picture like if it was me, right? I've really never snapped like to the point where I've lost full control, but I believe, with what happened, because like did something to my kids or even my niece and nephew, just because they're kids, and I'm, I've, been able to play with them and give them like love and attention, and then, teach them some martial arts, or, it all comes down to like, he came, maybe it was in the heat of passion. Right. But, it's still, it's just really tough, because now your kid, that you were not able to protect, and you're the one who's paying for this child care service. So this child care service, and the owner, it's her son. It's like insane. Like, where do you go? I mean, like Cain could have just grabbed the dude and dropped him on his head, but I think again, it's like heat of passion. He's out. And it's just like the rage, and it's just, maybe he just snapped for a moment, So, it wasn't me, I couldn't tell you, because I've never snapped for a moment like that, because I've been blessed that my kids are healthy. They were never, in a serious situation where if something happened to them and the criminal who did that is in jail and now they're out, it's really a hard subject to really put yourself in, because, what would you really do for your kid?
No, I agree with that. And obviously things could have been much worse for Cain if he actually killed someone, in the truck, or like an innocent bystander, particularly if it was not the intended target. I know it's a tough question, but in your opinion, do you think Cain was just trying to scare the guy, or do you think he was so enraged that he wanted him dead?
Again, heated passion. I can't, come up with what he's thinking.
Right.
I only can. I can only, I put myself in his situation and how I would have approached it. I would be very pissed, and I would want, some kind of, I would definitely go to the police station first, and then, bring it up to them. And then I would make sure every single parent that went to that place, and I would make sure I would stand out there myself with the sign that there's a child molester that is there, those are the things that I would strategically do. And then, now that guy came at me, and because I didn't want to leave the front, of the street, then
all bets are off.
Then that gives me, hey, I'm self-defense. He came at me.
Right.
So that's, I just, because, I've been blessed. My wife went to pre-law, and she actually kind of had her own little idea how she would maneuver. But I think Cain's got the best in the business, and let's see what happens. And hopefully the right guy, which is the criminal, the guy who likes to find those little kids, it gets behind bars, and it's just there's so many criminals that are out right now. Look at the justice system. I mean, I believe in 2020 or 2021, Gavin released 60,000 dangerous criminals, and 20,000 of them were serving a life sentence. So, where's this world at? While you have someone like Kane, who's a role model to many, martial arts fans and to many, to the Mexican community, and now he's behind bars, because the system didn't do its job. It's a tough one to navigate here.
Well, following up on that, what, if any, role do you think race might have in this?
There's always going to be race involved in something like this, but I think it's more of the system failing because they got the wrong guy behind the bars.
So you were talking about heat of passion, and when we spoke to you last, we were kind of breaking down the fight or flight response. So can you kind of walk us through how that applies to, Kane's response here, and what the fight or flight can kind of do to your mental process?
Well, here's the thing about fight or flight, right? The fight or flight is a situation when your life is in danger and you're going to either fight or you're going to take flight. You have to maneuver right then and there. Now, Kane, he just found out, man, my kid, the person who did this to my kid is out. And so then there it is, where that's not my expertise. So I've never snapped in the head.
Right.
So, I came close a few times, but, I breathe and I talk to God right away. I don't jump and do everything I do. It has to go through, God Almighty and his son, Jesus Christ. So that's where I think I've been saved, because a lot of times I just, if it wasn't for God, I just gone up to that person that was, mouthing off and saying stuff about, my family or whatever it is. And I would drive his head to the ground.
Yeah. Like they say, but for the grace of God, there go I.
Yeah. So, I've never been in this situation, so I can't really put myself in that situation. There's many things that, like I told you, I would have done. So, but here's the thing: while someone is sick in the head, how are they out? Why are they out? If they already been, it's only he went to jail because of this, but he's out. It's almost like impulse, and rage. So, this is a very tough case, but at the same time, the case should already been, almost done, because the wrong guy's out. This guy was in jail for doing this, and now he's out. That just makes no sense.
Do you have an update on Kane's ability to get bail? Is there any news on him being able to, a bail hearing or anything like that you can share?
I think the first two didn't go his way, because this judge believed that he's a danger to society. But again, that makes her look kind of really ridiculous, because she doesn't see that this other guy
is a threat, right?
Who molests little kids.
Same judge.
I posted the judge. I'm not sure on the second judge, but I believe it's the same judge.
So the molester, he walks.
Yep.
Okay.
Well, like we've described, there's obviously huge support out there for Kane on camera, on social media. We've got the free Kane hashtag and the t-shirts and all that. But Cung, in your opinion, how much do you think all of that's actually going to help, with the legal process in Kane's case?
I'm not a legal guy, already as it is, it's there's a lot of cases out there that, you're scratching your head and you question the decision that's made. And I mean, take nothing away, but look at some of the decision Biden's making. I mean, it's like almost this whole thing is demonic, you know. It's crazy. We're living in Revelation time.
It's definitely things. There's a number of items that are definitely upside down. I got a philosophical question for you. If Cain ends up in prison over this event, was his response in defense of his son, I guess, was it worth it in your mind?
Well, I'm not Cain, but if it was me and I did what I did, I would have just caused more trouble by making things really rough by doing it legally, you know, because like I said, you know, when you have a relationship with God Almighty and his son, Jesus Christ, your life is completely different. You won't snap in that moment, you know, you breathe. And then when you're talking to God, you know, he answers you by giving you that right feeling, by calming you down, by letting you know, let him handle it. You know, so sometimes you just gotta like, okay, at least my kid's safe, and I'll let God handle this. And if I had to handle it, and you know, like an eye for an eye, here's the big difference. I wouldn't have missed.
You know, it sounds like Cung, you've got all the physical preparation for, you know, self-defense or whatever, but you obviously have got the spiritual preparation as well. And maybe that's just as strong or even stronger.
The spiritual and the relationship with God Almighty, his son, is the strongest. There is nothing stronger. And I can contest to that. There's no evil out there that can stand a second. It's just, you know, if you read the Bible, you understand. And if you ask for understanding, then you understand why everything is going the way it is.
Well, now we're going to have two separate potential trials, one for the molestation and one for Cain, who's up against a lot of serious charges, attempted murder, and I think 8 or 9 other charges. And again, we're asking you to speculate, Cung. We understand you're not a legal analyst, but all things considered here, do you think that either or both of the trials can be fair?
Well, nowadays, Gavin I believe there's a new law to lighten the crimes that are these pedophilias are doing. I think the punishment should be worse, but you know, it's the world we live in. And then for Cain, you know, it's a tough one. It's a tough one. So I couldn't, you know, I couldn't maneuver it because I wouldn't do, like I said, I've never snapped to the point where, you know, rage just took over.
Well, Cung, is there anything else that you want to add about Cain that we didn't touch on, or anything else about this whole sad ordeal?
You know, everyone knows Cain's a great guy. You didn't even have to ask me that. If you met Cain before, you know he's a good guy. And if you didn't, and if you're asking me, he's a great guy. He's a great dad, and he's a great husband, and he's a great friend, and he's a great training partner.
You know, before we wind down here, Cung, we want to follow up with you on a few things from our last interview. We heard that a TV pilot is being filmed at your gym. And we want to know if that was related to Fight or Flight, or do you have another project in the works, such as a TV show or a movie?
We're doing a TV show called Spiritual Battles Worldwide. We just did some filming, more of just like some interviews. My mother-in-law and my wife, you know, my mother-in-law has over 470 successful exorcisms, and my wife, you know, she's been with her on over 200 exorcisms, and we do everything free of charge because it's God's work. So we don't charge. And, you know, we're just trying to get the message out there that, you know, everyone's in a spiritual fight right now. And, you know, like a lot of people, you know, they're so far from God right now. They're so far from Jesus. And, You know, they should definitely give the King James version of the Bible a read, because like everything that's happening now is revelation. We are living in end days, and you might think, you know, a lot of people think, you know, like even some of my relatives kind of like, you know, hey, I think you've been hit in the head too many times, but I walk with God, so He answers me when I ask. So I know we're close, and I'm telling you, Jesus is gonna come soon. So better have a good relationship with Him. Look what's happening in 2030. They expect you to be happy with nothing, and be their slaves. And the elites are taking over, and they're all. If it's one world order, it's one religion, one currency, one money system, one religion. What do you think that religion is? You know. It's not God Almighty, the Most High, the Creator, and His Son Jesus Christ is not. So, but it's not going to get that far, because Jesus Christ is coming.
Hey, Cung, the last time we spoke to you, we talked a little bit about the UFC Anti-Trust Suit that you were heavily involved in. Could you kind of just give us a refresher about what that's about, and what's the current status of that litigation?
You know, we're just waiting for the judge to finish his you know, what he has to do. But the last time we had, before the COVID hit, and before COVID, you know, slowed everything down.
Right.
We were in a great position. So right now we're just waiting for them to catch up. You know, obviously, you know, with the Biden and the election and everything that's going on now, and the border stuff, and the, you know, Afghanistan, Ukraine. I mean, you name it, happening. Like I said, it's revelation times, guys. Everyone thinks, oh, I'm waiting for a sign. Well, the sign's all around you.
Yeah, they're blaring. Well, you know, Cung, this was incredibly helpful for us to understand all the complexities of Kane the man and the case. And we appreciate all your insight on that and other things. And, you know, thank you so much for your time, and best of luck to you and everything you're doing.
Yeah. We want to say thanks. And just, you know, personally, we really appreciate your honesty on these topics.
Yeah.
And we've taken time out of your busy schedule to come and talk with us. And we hope that you'll keep us updated on events. And we look forward to speaking with you again.
All right. Thank you. Thank you for having me again. And God bless you guys. God bless everyone.
Wow, that was a great interview with Cung. And, you know, Dion, before we get into our analysis and breakdown, I just wanted to clarify a few references that Cung made. So the first one is, he mentioned that he met Kane at the AKA, and that is the American Kickboxing Academy. Cung was also talking about the awesome story of how Cain Velasquez helped him out when Cung broke his foot at UFC 148. So the year on that, we were talking about that during the interview, that would have been 2012. And so one other thing I think that is worth discussing, you know, when a juvenile is molested, obviously privacy is of the utmost concern. So you're not going to see a lot of documents out there or details about it. So that's why in the media, the victim's always described as a close relative of Cain Velasquez. Well,
Right.
An MMA fighter who apparently knows Kane very well, this is Ryan Bader, on his Instagram, he actually said that it was Kane's son that was the victim.
Which helps to explain a lot of the emotion involved from Kane's point of view.
Yes, yeah. That's a very, very close relative. And so we don't know if that's the final word. We don't know if Ryan Bader just happened to let it slip. But
Right.
I've also heard Mark Garagos refer to father of the victim, of the molestation victim. So with all that said, I think, you know, it probably makes sense that it's his kid. So take it away, Dion, with that. What are your takeaways from what Cung had to say?
Well, the first thing is that makes a lot more sense.
Yeah.
I mean, if it's, you know, not a distant relative, but even a niece or a nephew, are you going to go to that extreme?
No, you're going to have a different reaction. You're going to have a strong reaction, but probably not the strongest.
Yeah. So that was one of the first things that didn't make a lot of sense when we first heard the story, right?
Right.
Is that, you know, because they were saying, hey, it's a relative. Well, why do you ram a car and start shooting it up if it's just a relative? And then another takeaway, which we discussed a little bit with Cung, is I'm trying to put myself in in Kane's, mind, right? Which obviously is not really fair, but it sounds like Kane gave the system an opportunity to work. Like, hey, I'm going to go along with this. He's been arrested, but I think it was just too much for him when they released him on bail. No way to know any of this. We have no inside information, but in his mind, there could have been almost a kind of a public service type motive to this as well. So if he got my child, who else's? I'm not only protecting my child, but I'm protecting maybe other people there. So there could be also a larger purpose to his actions.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Because there were 20 people, I think,
that's right.
His daycare. And, this just kind of goes to the point of who's the bigger danger here? The alleged molester, who he's got plenty of targets out there. And we should mention, I don't know if this came up, but it's his mom that owns the daycare. He was actually, I believe, living on the premises. He wasn't an employee, but he certainly had obviously too much access. With Kane, you could argue that really the only person in danger is Goulart, the alleged molester, maybe his family. So, who is the bigger danger to society? And I think Cung, gave a pretty good character reference for Kane.
I think he did. And I want to just take a sidestep just for a moment on something on these daycare centers. I have no experience. This is just, me giving a comment.
I hear you.
Whenever you hear these cases like this, which I understand, these daycares are a lot of times are set up in people's homes.
Yeah.
But they have to be certified by, I'm guessing, the local, governments, the county government, and the state government for certification so they can provide these services, correct? And I think that's where the problem is, because you're certifying the person who applied for the license and that at that facility, but it doesn't take into consideration everybody else that's living in that home because it's a private domicile, correct? So it seems like they're kind of that if they're going to have it in a private home, that there should be maybe a background check on everybody that resides or will be in that house, because we are talking about little kids.
Yeah, and maybe there is. I mean, I guess we don't know it, but then the whole question is, how often are these places monitored? They might pass muster to get the license, but then, and I don't know. That's something that may come out of this. Is
and you're right.
More scrutiny on that.
Yeah, that's right. You're right. Maybe those things take place, and then maybe it's just in the follow-up, like you said, coming back in and checking on the facility to see who's there. Because maybe the facility gets accredited and approved, right, to provide the service, and then maybe a year later, they take in some renters and there's more people living there. So there has to be some kind of accountability for the people that are actually residing at the home. They're going to be in close proximity to these kids. Yeah.
What's interesting is I believe Kane was using that service for about 2 years before this happened. So obviously he must have had an initial good impression, and probably early on things were going good, but
no, I'm sure like any good parent, he probably screened it, right?
Right.
Read the reviews, checked it out, and, maybe it was even a referral and stuff. And this is why I'm saying, and what you just mentioned about, having someone come back continually and check it out, I think is going to need to be addressed.
Yeah. It almost certainly wasn't just Kane's, relative who was a victim here. I mean,
there's never
that guy's a predator, and he's
right
there in the hen house. There's going to be some ugliness coming out of this, I'm sure.
One of the things that, especially after the second interview with Cung, that really impresses me, I don't know if I've ever talked to personally and professionally a more straight shooter, and I shouldn't have used that term.
Right.
Just an honest individual. I mean, the guy, he talks the talk and walks the walk, if I got that phrase right. He is just an honest human being and calls it as he sees it. And I can, whether it hurts you or not, he's brutally honest. And I just think it's really interesting of how he felt and how he's dealt with the situation.
Yeah. And one thing that obviously rings loud and clear is that Cung is a man of faith. And it's clear
without a doubt.
Yeah, that guides him and grounds him. Like he was talking about, like, it's his faith that would probably cause him not to get set off in this kind of situation. So I wanted to go back to one thing about the bail real quick, because I talked about this briefly in the interview, but we didn't really spell it out. But I saw somewhere in the media that what Geragos was proposing is that, first of all, $1 million bail. That's pretty high. And also that Kane be on supervised release, somehow monitored, And he proposed that either it be in an unlocked facility in Texas or a locked facility in California. So that, to me, seems like some pretty stringent bail terms and pretty reasonable, all things considering. I also heard Garagos talking on his Reasonable Doubt podcast that he does with Adam Carolla. And he was talking about how, the victim's attorney, the alleged molester's attorney was expressing concerns for their safety, and kind of the response to that is like, well, if you're really concerned with safety, why don't you go back into custody?
Yeah, I mean, that's a good point. I thought the bail, the terms were actually were really fair, and also learned something new. I didn't even know that was a possibility, that you can offer something and actually, be under constraints in a different state.
Yeah, that's new, and I guess you got to get creative, but the judge didn't go for it. And I think you see the Free Kane hashtag, and you might jump to a conclusion that it's like, okay, people don't know the facts, but they're just saying Kane is innocent. But I think the real drive of that is just to get him out on bail and be on level treatment with Goularte. I think that's it.
Well, I hope that, down the road, once this starts to play out a little bit, we can bring Cung back on to give us a little bit more detail from the inside. Yeah,
absolutely. This will be a developing story, and it's going to be a blockbuster trial when the time comes.
Yeah. Do you know, where's the jurisdiction for that? That's going to be what, Sacramento?
They're
San Jose.
San Jose, correct. Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's
what's interesting is there's a race. Just a side note, there's a race for the DA of San Jose going on right now. I know that there's I believe a public defender who's running to take over the DA chair. So depending when this goes to trial, there could be a new DA in town. So that'll be interesting.
Yeah, that could really turn, depending on what their judicial philosophy is, that could really turn everything on its head, Yeah. Well, the good news is that Kane's going to have a lot of support, and hopefully Mark Garagos will do a great job for him, and he'll get a fair trial, and that's all you can ask for, right?
Yeah, he's got a hell of an attorney, so he's well set up there.
Well, Crime Redefined fans, that's it for today. We hope you found this episode as thought-provoking as we did. Our previous episode with Cung Le was entitled Fight or Flight with Cung Le, and we went more into Cung Le's background and his career, and I definitely suggest listening to these episodes back-to-back. Thanks again for all of your support. Please check out our Verbal page, where we have not only our catalog of episodes, but snippets of our audio as well. Hit us on social media, and be well, everyone.
Thank you for listening to the Crime Redefined podcast. Like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter at Crime Redefined. Please send us your comments and questions and join us for the next episode.